It's Query and Company.
I'm going to be keeping you company for the next few hours.
You are not going to believe the company.
This company.
You're going to bankrupt your mama's company?
At least I have the radio to keep me company.
On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I don't know, because I am, I'm not going to lie to you, Eddie. I think, let me ask you a question. What is your favorite, and here's a question for everyone listening. And I know the answer is not going to be 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and I get it. That's cool. I respect it. But what is your favorite time of the day? When I say time of the day, I don't mean hour of the day. But if your day is broken down into time periods, like the first hour when you're getting ready for your day, or the drive into work, or the first hour after you get off work, or the hour after you eat dinner and you're getting ready, what is your favorite Eddie Garrison time of the day?
1:00:01 p.m.
Again, okay, so right when you get off work is what you're saying,
1
right?
second after the show ends, yes.
A lot of people have asked me about this, and we'll reiterate it from time to time. How do you like the new hours? People ask me. How do you like the new hours? It's pretty nice at like 1:15, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But I think my favorite time of day, oddly enough, I am not a morning person. But my favorite time of day is like once I get out of the shower and am getting ready for my day, to figure out which watch I'm going to wear, which cologne I'm going to wear that day, and just feeling fresh and clean. Like I said at the end of the morning show there with the guys, I am spring in human form, right? I'm just this radiant for like the first 5 minutes of the day until I start sweating, and then I'll hell in a handbasket. But nonetheless, I love that feeling of like, okay, new start to the day, new turn of the page.
Suave.
Yes, that's exactly right. Suave. Because I get up in the morning. Thank you, Eddie. I use the men's 2-in-1, right? And I think about who we're going to have on the Suave men's 2-in-1 hotline. I think about it when I'm using it as the shampoo. I think about it when I'm using it as the face and body wash. Both times. I think about the fact that today on the program, Stephen Holder's going to join us on the Suave men's 2-in-1 hotline. I think about the fact that Scott Agnes is going to join us on the Suave 2-in-1 men's hotline. I think about the fact we're going to talk about Indiana Sprint Week on the hotline, the Suave men's 2-in-1 hotline. All of it, right? I also have to get used to saying the Suave men's 2-in-1 hotline because they're a new partner to the show, which we love because I've always enjoyed their product.
You can always reach out to be a part of the show as well.
That is correct. Thank you, Eddie. Our sales department would love to have you in as part of the company, and so too would we. But I love that feeling. And then when I'm driving in, I'm thinking about and laying out what are the topics of the day, the theme of the day. And I am not a meteorological expert. I know this is stunning to people to know that I'm not necessarily one who, scientifically speaking, has meteorological background.
You know what it just dawned on me, Jake?
What's that?
We should have a query of the day.
Look at the big brain on Eddie.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank you.
You are assuming that the vast majority of people know what query means. I think most people do, right? As a kid growing up, still to this day, at my parents' house, my favorite, anecdote of my parents' house, and once the time comes when my sisters and I start arm wrestling over what possessions become ours, the thing that I'm going to claim more than anything else, my favorite possession at my parents' house growing up as a kid, we always had on the wall, and it's still there.
The wall in your closet? Is that what you're talking about?
No, the wall in my parents' family room.
Oh.
Like the main... Right there in the house, in the family room, on the wall is a brass question mark. And people are always like, what's with the question mark on the wall? And it's like, well, this is the query house. So, yes, excellent point by you. But as I'm driving in, I'm seeing the sky itself in this haze and this overcast. And I don't know, and I'm not making light of this in any way, shape, or form. I'm saying with genuine sincerity of my curiosity, I don't know if that is the wildfire Canadian smoke that is still hovering, moving its way south, or if we are naturally under overcast skies, or perhaps a combination of both, right?
Well, I think it is a combination of both because there is rain in the forecast today. There was a pretty big, severe weather out in like Missouri yesterday in the Kansas area. So it should be making its way here today at some point.
Gotcha. Okay. So the reason I say it, the uncertainty of the cloudiness, if you will, and I'm not making light of it, but it does somewhat represent the state of sport right now in Indiana. There are literally every team that we talk about, that we cover, there are question marks, just like the one in my parents' house. The Colts, we know about the quarterback situation. We know about the quarterback question mark, again, theme. We know about the other areas. Offensive line, to me, I'm very curious about. And they report, when is the report date again coming up, Betty?
A week from today.
1 week from today. Hard to believe. And it goes like that. And there is reason to have pause and fair warning and forewarning about training camp that we'll get to over the course of the show today. But the Colts have that uncertainty, that you don't know whether, what it is that's hovering over, and maybe it does clear. And then you'll have bright, sunshiny day. The Pacers have that to an extent. We now know, for example, we talked yesterday about the situation with their two-way contracts. Taylor Peter now has been released. So that now means, in terms of the two-way guys on two-way contracts, you have Kobe Brown, you have Ethan Thompson, you have, I'm thinking off the top of my head here.
Braden Smith.
Well, but Braden Smith hasn't been yet inked to paper, right?
I thought he did, but I could be wrong there.
Slauson, right?
Yes.
And there's one I'm missing. Who am I missing?
I don't think you're missing one after the Taylor and Peter release yesterday. It was Peter, Slauson, Braden Smith, Kobe Brown, and Ethan Thompson. Those were the ones for consideration for the final. Well, I guess I should say it was just Peter, Slauson, and Thompson for the final two-way spot.
Yeah, so there's what I'm saying is they still need to release one more player, correct?
Yes.
If and assuming, because they already had an agreement in place and they moved into the draft to select him, so assuming that Braden Smith, even though it's not officially signed, gets that two-way spot, then you have to figure out which one of those is the odd man out. And they all have merit to getting that last spot. But Taylor Peter, I think, is the one that we kind of knew was in jeopardy the most. And in fact, he now is out. But there are other questions about the Pacers just in general, even though that's for another day, Halliburton's health, etc. The Fever have one last game before their All-Star break. It is tomorrow night. It is against Connecticut, 8 o'clock. Pre-game, by the way, 7:30 can be heard here. There are question marks about the Fever as well. Which Fever team will the real Fever please stand up? Is it the one that we've seen of late that has played really at a high level, including like winning in Las Vegas, but then also, Eddie, they have, and there sometimes you see this in teams, and it is frustrating. At times, the Pacers were this way, even when they were clicking on all cylinders. But you see teams that play or can fall into the trap of the level of the opposition, right?
Yes.
And so when that happens, you get confused as to who they are and what they are. And I think to the Fever a great extent, and their All-Star break, it's not it's a 6-game break because they're back on the court then on Tuesday. So basically a really long weekend. They come back on Tuesday.
Break.
Yeah, 6-day break. They come back on Tuesday, and they are in Seattle. And, again, that's one of the teams that probably was a more interesting matchup last time than it needed to be.
I think when you look at it on paper, Jake, it's not surprising at all because Seattle's a team that has a lot of size. They have two bigs in the W. Like two of the biggest players are on Seattle. And without Aaliyah Boston there, it makes it a little bit challenging on the rebounding perspective. And that's what they were able to do. They got some second chance points offensively. And I think, Jake, when you look at just the identity of the Fever in general, we know they are one of the most explosive offenses in WNBA history. It's a matter of, can they figure it out consistently night to night defensively? And right now we haven't seen it, but there have been strides in that area in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, strides in that area. Again, when they're playing at a high level, Eddie, when they're playing well, they're very, very good. It's just you still are at the point. I used to say this about Rick Smits. I loved Rick Smits, and I think actually, on a side note, Rick Smits is the player of yesteryear with the Pacers that may translate to today's game as much as anybody. If you look at the 30-year-ago version of the Pacers, a lot of those guys were such good players, they would have found a way today. And I loved, and I think the most important piece, as we've talked about numerous times, of those teams, Dale Davis was the heart and soul of those Reggie Miller Pacer teams. And if you don't believe me, ask members of those Pacers teams. I mean, Reggie Miller, of course, but Dale Davis was such an important piece for them. But I don't know that Dale Davis's game today is if it fits as well. The two guys, in terms of the way that they played, that may actually be probably three. Who do you think, Eddie, when you look up, go ahead and pull up the 98 to 2000 Pacers. So either the team that took the Bulls to 7 games or the team that went to the finals in 2000. There are 3 guys that I think, not named Reggie Miller, whose games and style most translate to today. Would you like to guess who they are? 3 guys on either of those 2 rosters.
Jalen Rose.
Jalen Rose would be one.
Rick Smits.
Rick Smits would be one.
Mark Jackson.
No.
Derek McKee.
Yes. McKee might be number 1 because Derek McKee would be perfect on this year's Pacers team because Derek McKee could lock down anybody. And the thing about Derek McKee now, with this Pacers team, it probably wouldn't be as applicable because of the pace in which they play. But Derek McKee, I remember one time it blew me away, and that's when I knew the sabermetrics and those kinds of things, which I always kind of rolled my eyes at, and I'm like, okay, maybe I can't rule that out. I had referenced once years ago, I was having a conversation about the Pacers and with an executive from that group. And I mentioned Derek McKee, and they're like, the thing about Derek McKee that was amazing is, and I'm throwing out generic numbers because I don't remember the exact specifications, but they said, he was a 32% three-point shooter unless it was the final 4 seconds of a shot clock possession, in which case he was a 41% three-point shooter. And, so in other words, he was a guy that when all hell was breaking loose, he was always so calm and poised, but he was an outstanding wing defender and could also facilitate, handle the ball. He played bigger than his position, etc. But either way, Rick Smits, who I think translates the best to today's game because he was a 7'4" guy that could shoot, which was rare 30 years ago, and step out. I used to say about Rick Smits, when you would watch a game, you could tell in the first 3 possessions what kind of night it was going to be for Rick Smits. Halliburton had a little of this in the playoffs. And that's what makes the Oklahoma City game so painful. You could tell that was going to be a Halliburton game. And you could tell with Rick Smits when it was going to be a Rick Smits game. He'd hit his first 2 shots, or he'd do an up and under and hit a floater, and you're like, okay, he's got it today. And I feel like the Fever are still at that point. The maturation of a team is when a night in and night out, you have a very good idea what you are getting. And I feel like, Eddie, this Fever team, when they are clicking, they are very, very good. And they have more often now in the last, let's say, 10 games, seemingly been on that side of things than not.
Yeah, 7-3 in their last 10.
But they still have those performances where they're not coming out and just rolling right away, and they kind of have to scratch and claw their way back, and then their depth ends up winning a game for them, but they're not taking possession and control of that game from the jump. And that's the one area that I think kind of holds them back from being able to say, okay.
Well, that's interesting that you make that point, Jake, because through the first, dozen games or so, it felt like it was the other way around, to where they were getting out to these early leads in the first quarter. Then they would go into the second quarter. They would extend it just a bit, approach double figures, maybe cross into like the 12 to 15 point lead. And about halfway through the second quarter, it just all crumbled. And next thing you know, they go into halftime either leading by a few points or even trailing. And then it would just carry over into the third. And then it resulted in these astronomically high fourth quarter scorings, because they get into this mode of, we have to play catch up. We've got to score. We got to score. And so it leads to a lot more possessions. The pace picks up, and it results in some poor defensive play, not getting back in transition. And so it seems like there has been in the last couple games where it's shifted ever so slightly to where they're getting out to somewhat of a slow start. Then they're able to regroup by the end of the first quarter and carry that momentum over into the second, take a lead into halftime, and they're starting to build as the game is going along now. We still haven't seen a full 40 minutes yet, but
Right, that's right.
But they are starting to show signs, I think. And it's typically how a Stephanie White team has, been in the course of her coaching career, in the W at least. Connecticut was the same way when she was the head coach of the Sun. They would struggle in the first part of the season. Second half of the year, they would pick up. If you look at last year with the Indiana Fever, the same case, hanging around 500. Then they start to figure it out the last 2 weeks, get hot into the postseason, make a run, and take the eventual champion, WNBA champions, Las Vegas Aces, to a Game 5. And then now they're kind of following the same, recipe here.
Yeah, I think the Stephanie White so prioritizes, as any coach typically does, the defensive side of the basketball. And we know the Fever can score. But they don't want to go out and be the mid-'80s Nuggets. They don't want to be Loyola Marymount. They can do it. They can outrun people for certain, right?
Gosh, that Nuggets team back in those days, you'd score 120 a game but give up 130.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what's the – aren't the Denver Nuggets I got to think, that the highest scoring NBA game of all time? At least maybe that record was just broken. But there was a game, it was 161 to 158 or something. It was the Nuggets, and I want to say Golden State.
You're not close. You're not close. It does involve the Nuggets.
Okay.
In 83.
I knew it was okay, so that still is the record. Let me guess here. Okay?
It was a triple overtime game, too.
Okay, 181 to 178.
That's much closer. 186 to 184.
Who were they? Give me a hint here on who they were playing, okay?
A famous Indiana player was on this team.
So it wasn't Golden State.
That is correct. It was not Golden State.
Not Phoenix. When you say Indiana player, you mean Indiana University?
Yes.
This was in 83?
Yes.
Okay, my first guess then would be the Kansas City Kings?
No.
Not Detroit.
It is Detroit.
It is Detroit?
Yeah. Isaiah Thomas had 47 points and 17 assists, 5 rebounds, 4 steals in that game.
That's not bad. That's a decent stat line.
I don't know.
Can I guess Denver's leading scorer? I know this is riveting radio in Indianapolis in 2026. I'm going to guess that Denver's leading scorer in that game, this would have been, it has to be Alex English, right?
I don't have the box score pulled up for that, but yeah. I don't know.
That would have been pre-Fat Lever.
John Long, was he a member of
John Long was also a Pacer, by the way.
Was he a Denver Nugget?
He might have been.
And that's what's a note here. He had 41.
I always thought John Long, by the way.
Oh, sorry. No, it was, I can't even say this guy's name. Kiki Vandeweghe. Yes.
Yeah, of course.
51 points.
Really? Okay.
Alex English had 47.
Kiki Vandeweghe was kind of a gun for hire that played for a number of teams. New
Excuse
York.
Me?
Gun for hire?
Oh, like ISO Joe?
Excuse me?
Joe Johnson?
Yes. Joe Johnson, the king of the max contract. I always thought John Long should have been on. They should have put John Long on I'm trying to think of, well, I mean, it's sour grapes, obviously, and for good reason. The 72 Olympic team would have been perfect for John Long to be on that team because then he would have been John Long Silver, right? And that would have been cool. A lot of marketing opportunities that could have been there. Thank you.
I'll give you that one.
Thank you. At any rate, yesterday also IndyCar in Nashville. It's always hard when, first off, it was obviously unbelievably hot. And I was there on Sunday when it wasn't even as hot as it was yesterday, and it was uncomfortably, unbearably hot. And when that happens, I think there's so much that, just it's not that tempers flare, but just patience wears thin, and that impacts people's driving. It was a wonky race. I saw
people just get testy.
Yes. The Dixon Rossi thing was weird.
Yes.
For those that are unfamiliar, Alexander Rossi, Scott Dixon, I mean, two of the most tenured drivers in the series, and they were working their way on the backstretch, and Rossi just went off throttle. And I mean, and Dixon, you don't see this a lot in IndyCar. I mean, he just drove right into the back of him.
Nice rear end.
Rossi afterwards said, look, I was going to the pits. How did he not know that? It is not my place to question the driving acumen of Alexander Rossi.
Isn't there a commit line?
Yes, and he was right on the edge of it, number one. And I think that Rossi was further to the point of or past the commit line than he realized. And I don't know that he'd seen the replay yet. He did kind of move his car down as if to indicate that's kind of a turn signal, if you will. But I would assume that after he watched it, he realized, yeah, okay, I was at fault there. But
could you imagine if they had turn signals on Indy cars?
Or if they had to use the arm?
Yeah.
Like bicycles?
Well, I mean, if anybody can do it, Alexander Rossi for sure, right? We've seen him do some pretty wonky stuff down the straightaway.
He is very capable of driving with one hand out the cockpit. That is correct, and elevated. But yes, kind of a weird race in terms of those circumstances. But once again, Alex Palou and Barry Wanzer, who is a strategist, comes up with the right touch, the right move. And Palou, who started fourth a year ago, finished second, started fourth yesterday, and ends up winning the race in Nashville. Joseph Newgarden second, and Newgarden was, I think, unhappy because the race was supposed to be 75 laps longer. They shortened it because of the heat, and Newgarden feels as though he was drawing a bead on Palou, and with 20 more laps would have gotten him. But he didn't, so Alex Palou is your winner.
Boy, I tell you what, heck of a ride from Malukas yesterday.
Malukas had a good run. So too did Mick Schumacher. Mick Schumacher, who is out of a ride, even though unofficially, for next year. He'll end up somewhere, I would assume, but it looks as though for certain that third car for Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan Racing now is going to be, that charter is going to be sold. I think Dreyer and Reinbold is going to be the one that buys it, and that means Mick Schumacher will have to find a new place to go. But he, yesterday, I thought looked really good. And Malukas, who had to start at the back of the field, used strategy to get towards the front and then stayed up front. Stephen Holder, 1 week from today, Colts are reporting for training camp. And what are the big areas beyond quarterback of question? And we will ask him a question that's going to lead to the power rankings that Eddie and I are going to do. We're going to do our own in just over 30 minutes as it relates to the Colts. We'll let you know that subject when Stephen Holder joins us next. Hey there, Jake Query for Game Day Men's Health. GameDayMen'sHealth.com is the website. Guys, time to get back in shape, right? You've been thinking about it. You're like, man, 3 o'clock every day, I feel like I need a nap. or I've been trying to get rid of this, the belt. It just keeps getting, longer and longer. Listen, that stubborn belly fat, the visceral fat you've been dealing with, just that feeling of the midday nap. Game Day Men's Health is here to get you back in the game. Could be testosterone replacement therapy that would benefit you, weight loss injections, or the peptide therapies, which just help you get that spring back in your workout and shorten that recovery time. Those are all the things that Game Day Men's Health is there for you. Avon, Carmel, Fishers, Greenwood, Indianapolis on the north side, North Shadeland. Those are the locations. Carmel location where I went, Fishers is fabulous. They're all fabulous because it's designed to be a laid-back, comfortable, almost a sports-oriented theme for Game Day Men's Health to get you back in the game, but doing so while working with your primary care physician if you'd like, FDA-approved pharmacies, very relaxed environment, and they will let you know everything they have to offer at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Look it out, look over it, make a consultation appointment, look over their menu, if you will, and find out what works best for you. GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Stephen Holder is with ESPN. He, of course, is the Colts beat writer for ESPN. He is winding down his offseason because the Colts report 1 week from today. Stephen, I know that you went and visited your parents. We talked to you during that time period. Were there any other vacations that you managed to squeeze in during the time off?
No, I didn't. And for the first time in like 10 years, I didn't. But that's because I had a laundry list of things to do. We had other obligations, and my daughter had sports, and it's just like one freaking thing after another. So, but I got in some downtime with the parents and saw some friends, and so that ends up being like a vacation when you go home, you know. But let me just tell you, like, you pay the price because I got old parents now, so that's a job. Let's be honest. You love them, but it's a job. You know. What I'm saying.
You know what though, Stephen? Just remember this: there were plenty of times your dad came home plenty tired, and you wanted to play pitch and catch in the backyard, and he's like, "Oh,
yeah,
man.
oh yeah, oh yeah."
You know, turnabout's fair play, right? Stephen Holder is on the Schwab Men's 2-1 hotline. Colts getting set to report a week from today. All right, I'll begin it to you with this. I talked about it yesterday. I'm curious your thoughts on it. I feel like one area for the Colts this year that is of intrigue because I think they've done a nice job, and I think Chris Ballard gets some credit here. I'm rough on him at times, but I'll give him a lot of credit here. I think they have found, maybe not necessarily aside from Quentin Nelson, guys that are a 10 on the offensive line, but they have guys that are a solid 7 at multiple positions and can move around a little bit. And I like that sort of a depth, but it does mean that you have some guys that are still acclimating to new position. Where are they on the line, and are they maybe better and deeper than we give them credit?
I would actually say that I like their offensive line as much or more than any other position. I for the reason you outlined, right? I mean, I think you look across the board, and I feel like that's a solid group in terms of a unit. You know, singularly, you know, some guys are stronger than others, but I think when you look at it as a unit, and I think with the offensive line, you have to look at it as a unit. I like that group as a collective, really, really good. And I think it stands to get potentially better because now, after last season, you know, you saw Tanner Bortolini and Matt Gonzalez, you saw them settle in at a specific position. I think they're going to stay with that same lineup. And that lineup, the change this year would be Braden Smith at right tackle. He is now in Houston, obviously. Then Jalen Travis has to take ownership of that job. He started the last couple games last season. They liked what they saw, and I thought it was very promising. But, you know, it's different doing it sort of as a guy stepping in with lower expectations. It's different doing that than it is taking the job full time and showing that it's yours and you deserve to have that job full time. So he's got to demonstrate that. But I think you're going to see a pretty locked in unit in terms of where guys are playing this year. Quentin Nelson is Quentin Nelson. Bernard Raymond, he's doing just fine. I think just, you know, he's got to just keep the consistency up. I think, you know, he had a couple games where he would want to have back last year, but I think overall you take that at left tackle. So I like it. You're going to see those two young guys, Bortolini and Gonzalez, now a year older and more experience at their position, and then they just got to bring Travis along. I love the offensive line. That's not my concern for this team.
Is Stephen, Jalen Travis, is he a guy that, and I like him too, right? And he's a sharp guy, and I thought he played well at the end of the year. Is he a guy that's in that position because, and the departure that led to the opening to put him there, was that necessitate, or was that, you know, allowed to have happen because Jalen Travis was there and seamless transition here, or is he there because by default because somebody has to play that spot?
Right, great question. So I think it all is all related here. So Braden Smith perhaps is still here, if there's no Jalen Travis. I believe that. I think it certainly was a decision that was multifaceted, right? It wasn't one thing that led to the departure of Braden Smith. It was, hey, you're an older guy now. You know, he's had some injuries. I don't think it had anything to do with his mental health issues, obviously, right? I mean, he came back from that. I thought he played well. He overcame that. He was a success story in that regard, right? So that, to me, was not a factor. This is more about just the business of football. An older player going or coming out of a contract, you have to decide, do you want to sign that aging player to another deal and cope with whatever comes physically, or do you want to take a chance on a younger ascending player? The Colts chose the latter. And I think without Jalen Travis being a guy they felt was competent and could take another step, they maybe make a different decision about Braden Smith. So it's a compliment to him, to Jalen Travis, that they did make that decision. And it shows, I think, a high level of confidence in him. And now he has to take the next step and show that they were right. So I think you're on to something there.
The Stephen Holder is the guest here. He is on the Schwab Men's 2-1 hotline talking about the Colts quarterback position. We've talked about that plenty, Stephen. We'll see what happens with Daniel Jones. Eddie and I are going to do, and I'm just going to allow you, Stephen. There's one guy that I think I took off the board here because I almost feel like this conversation should be named in his honor. So it's almost like you can't even use him as the example. But we are going to rank upcoming on the program, Eddie and I, our summer wonders. And by that I mean players that had a training camp or training camps for the Colts where it looked like they were destined to be a breakthrough diamond in the rough. Look what I found, NFL star, because at training camp they were all the buzz. And then the regular season rolled around and either A, they didn't even make the roster, or B, you're like, what in the world happened? And reality hit. Give me a guy that jumps out at you, Stephen Holder, as somebody that had that sort of a time in Indianapolis.
Okay, well, wait. Who's off the board? I think I know who it is, but whose number are we retiring here?
Do you happen to know where Eddie went to high school?
I don't.
He went to Decatur Central, which people just simply call DC. You know, like, I went to DC. That guy has the same initials.
Oh, okay. It's exactly who I thought it was.
Duron Carter was going to be an NFL. Like, do you remember when Duron Carter announced that he was going to?
Remember.
It was unbelievable.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you. Look, okay, I'll get to your question, but let me just tell you a Duron Carter story. Okay, for the listeners out there. So his father, you may have heard of, right? We all know Chris Carter, Hall of Fame wide receiver, one of the greatest guys to ever play that position. But Chris Carter is a complicated individual, right? Like he's, I would, he always had kind of an interesting relationship with the media and all that. And so his kid ends up here, and Chris Carter becomes my best friend. Okay, I can't get this guy off the phone. He's calling me daily. And I am not exaggerating. We are talking daily. He wants to know how practice went. He's going on and on about his thoughts. He's just kind of like this. I'm like his sounding board on his kid. And I'm like, buddy, I got like 80 other guys I got to cover here.
Right.
But whatever. He's Chris Carter, and I like the guy, right? I wasn't saying like I didn't want to talk to him. I liked him. I remember, man, we were on the phone that Saturday morning when final cuts were coming down, and he's just picking my brain to see what I know. And I'm like, I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. Like, can you call me back in 6 hours? I don't know. And so anyway, he gets cut, and, we end up commiserating about this, and he's just really disappointed. I get it, right? We're all, if you're a parent, you understand. And long story short, I have needed Chris Carter on a few occasions in the intervening years since then. I never talked to the guy since. Never. I have not one time had a phone conversation with Chris Carter since Duron Carter left the Indianapolis Colts. So that's my Chris Carter story.
Well,
thanks, Chris.
And listen, there were people that when Duron Carter announced he was going to play for the Colts, I can't remember the other team that was in the running, but it was like this.
Yeah, I can't either. Maybe the Vikings. It might have been the Vikings. Yeah.
I mean, it literally was like a 5-star recruit. People were waiting to see which cap he was going to put on. He'd played for the Montreal Alouettes, I think, in the Canadian League. He was big.
That's correct.
He was making 2 unbelievable catches per camp practice, and then he gets cut here. And I don't know that he ever played anywhere. The nephew, also of former Indiana basketball player Butch Carter. I don't know that he played anywhere, right?
He might have ended up on like a camp roster or a practice squad, maybe. I can't remember. And I think he ultimately, don't quote me on this, but somebody Google this. He might have gone back to the CFL at some point, if I recall. It's interesting you mentioned that whole run up to him signing with an NFL team. I do remember that vividly. And you're not wrong, though, about like his training camp. You watched him in practice, like there was something there. Like I don't think it was just, I don't think he was some kind of a joke. You know what I mean? Like there was a talent there for sure. But there was something about him just in the preseason games when he got under the lights, there was this deer in the headlights deal with him, and he just could not perform. And I don't know. I do think like there's a whole psychological aspect to sports. I have never played it, certainly at that high of a level, so I'm not the guy to ask. But there's something to that.
I'm looking at it right now, Steven. 6'5", 205, started at Ohio State, played in 12 games as a freshman, then went to Canada after college, Montreal Alouettes. He transferred from Ohio State to Florida Atlantic. Montreal Alouettes, then the Colts, right? Then he gets released here, goes back to Montreal, then Saskatchewan, Toronto, BC, and Edmonton. Never played a down in the NFL. So aside from Duron Carter, give me your guy.
So this is good. Let me think here. It's usually a running back. And who are the running backs that I'm thinking about
Kenton
here?
Keith.
That's one. That's definitely one. And there are others. And this is so sad because you spend so much time talking about them, you know, in preseason, and then it just never. They never cross your mind again, you know. And I, in my old age, I'm like forgetting their names now. It's kind of sad, you know. And I hate to be like that, but it's just true, you know. Like I have cycled through, I don't even know how many players, right?
Oh, I know.
20 seasons. I mean, it's literally. I'm not exaggerating. It's literally. It might be 5 figures, you know, in terms of the number of players. It's certainly thousands at least, you know. But Kenton Keith's an element. But every year there's a running back or receiver. I think those are the 2 positions. Those guys, they run up huge stats, and really what they are is they're just like, you know, they're just kind of like their bodies for the coaches. That's what they are. I
know.
They don't want to play. They're good players. So someone has to play. So anyway, it's just I just remind people of that as we get into training camp. It's like, you know, there's going to be that guy, and there's always one every year. And there's a reason they don't make the team. Rarely do you see those guys go on to do big things. One other guy I throw in there is Philip Walker, the quarterback.
Yeah, several years, right?
Yeah. And I loved Philip. He was a good soldier, man. Like he was on and off this roster like on a weekly basis almost for like 2 years. He went through that for like 2 years on the practice squad, off the practice squad. And I can't remember what years it was, but I would talk to him about it, and like he hated it, but like he sucked it up, and he was a good soldier. And, you know, he ended up sticking around the NFL in some capacity for a while. So it was worth it to him. But yeah, Philip Walker had some great preseason moments as well.
Okay, lastly, Stephen, your big question mark that you're most intrigued about 1 week from today when everybody reports that does not have to do with anybody that's going to be throwing the football.
Yeah, I think I may have even said this to you last week. Again, where is DeForest Buckner? Where's he at? And not physically, like where's he located, but where is he in terms of his injury status? If he is not ready to go, the question then becomes, how close is he? And I would not be surprised, this is not a prediction because I don't know, but I would not be surprised if he still has a long way to go, to be completely honest with you, because he had, I should say, a very serious surgery, and he had a long way to go even when we were back in off-season workouts. He did nothing. He was not a part of anything they did on the field. He was just rehabbing. So the goal has kind of shifted there from like, well, be ready for training camp to just be ready for opening day. And that's, I think, an interesting shift. It tells me that, this is going to be a process. And, that's 1A, 1B is Alec Pierce, but I'm less concerned about him coming back just because of the nature of that injury. But DeForest Buckner is just so critical to their fortunes, especially when they have there's so much turnover in that front seven. Like, he's one of the stabilizing forces. And I think they just got to have him out there, man. So, we'll see what happens, and hopefully that all works out well.
Stephen Holder, men's 2-in-1 hotline, and ESPN.com, where you can read his work a week from today, Colts Report. And Stephen actually doesn't know this yet, but I'm going to corral him to the table and just have him hang with me for 3 hours every day I'm out there, even though practices are going to be going on while we're there. Stephen, appreciate it. We'll see you next week, all right?
All right, you got it.
All right, Stephen Holder joining us on the program. We come back. Not one, but two opportunities to see a big-time sporting event in the next week here in Indianapolis, and like 9 of them over the next 2 weeks throughout the state. What am I talking about? We'll talk about one of the people participating in it, and we're going to sprint towards 11 o'clock. There's your hint. Power rankings upcoming as well. Hey there, Jake Query for Chicago's Pizza. ChicagosPizza.com is the website. 19 locations across central Indiana, 26 statewide. And think about it right now. You're thinking about lunch, right? Just about 15 minutes from now. The lunch buffet is underway, and they've been in there since first thing this morning, making that every single day. Handmade fresh dough, the breadsticks, which are unbelievable, traditional pizza, deep dish pizza, the best cheese, the highest of quality, and the salad bar, all the fixings, crisp, fresh, right there, the dressings that you want. You get all that and a soft drink. Keep in mind, I said the breadsticks as well, the dessert pizza, all that plus a soft drink as part of their lunch buffet. And Chicago's Pizza and their 19 central Indiana locations, so good you're going to want it for dinner. No problem. The family meal deal, 2 medium, 1-topping pizzas and fresh breadsticks for just $25. Folks, Chicago's Pizza has everything that you want. They have great product. They take pride in the pizza that they're making. They make it fresh every single day, and they care about the community, family-owned business since right here in Indiana in 1979. Chicago's Pizza. Find a location near you, chicagospizza.com.
This is Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Eddie, you know this band, right?
I sure do. I would hope so. I'm playing it.
I'm curious if our next guest knows this band. I'm thinking he probably does, but we're going to put him on the spot anyway and ask him, right? He is the driver of the Moose Racing number 92 entry out of Princeton, Indiana, by the way. Chase Stockin joining us now as part of Indiana Sprint Week for USAC upcoming. All right, Chase, I'm going to put you on the spot. I don't know if you heard that artist. Do you know what band we just played?
Oh, without a doubt, Lincoln Park. They're one of the best rock groups for sure.
All right, see. Now, not only did you know that, but you know why I'm playing that, right?
I do not.
Lincoln Park on July 24th, if I'm not mistaken, right? Isn't that one of the stops along Indiana Sprint Week?
Yes, absolutely.
So there you go, getting you warmed up. But Indiana Sprint Week is getting set to get underway, and you guys were just there on the 4th of July at Lincoln Park. But let's get to the rundown here of the tracks before we talk to you about it. The dirt track at IMS coming up on the 23rd. Then it's Lincoln Park, Kokomo, Lawrenceburg, Circle City Raceway, which I love, right here in Indianapolis, followed by, and you get a night off. That's rare during Sprint Week. Then Paragon is going to be on the 29th, followed by a place you know and love, the Terre Haute Action Track, Bloomington Speedway, and Tri-State Speedway. That is a gauntlet, my friend. I'm curious from your standpoint. You won Sprint Week 6 years ago. Just that schedule alone, how physically grueling is it?
As a driver, I would say is probably easier than being a crew member. Those guys put in a lot of hours getting cars prepared and working on them at the racetrack, throughout the night. And, it seems like a week like what's coming up for this year's Sprint Week. Like you said, there's one rare off day, and it's really kind of not an off day for those guys. So, it takes a lot of great people behind, drivers to make this week happen. And, we thank all of them and all the great fans that come out and support this week and watch us do battle.
39th annual, by the way, NOS Energy Drink Indiana Sprint Week. It is presented by K&N Filters, K&N Filters for Indiana Sprint Week. Chase Stockin will be in it. I mentioned the Terre Haute Action Track. You've won there twice. If I'm not mistaken, you actually won there a year ago. Coming off a broken arm, you had ended kind of a drought there in terms of getting a win. And now, were you racing with the broken arm, or you were racing at a place where you had just come back from an arm injury? Because you guys are unbelievable in what you're willing to gruel through.
Yeah, that week, actually starting off at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I suffered a boxer's break in my hand. So, my grip strength wasn't very good. And, that was kind of in question, talking with the crew chief, the crew, car owners. They're like, you want to continue? And I said, absolutely. I don't know why we wouldn't. So, just you've seen it last year with Justin Grant with his foot and everything. Robert Blue's done the same deal, coming back off of injuries. And, I've been there myself a couple times, and I don't know if it's the smartest thing in the world to power through the pain. And, like everybody says, the older you get, you pay for those decisions. And, certainly that's the case sometimes. But no, like you said, it's an exciting week for sprint car racing. And like the Terre Haute Action Track last year that dried up a pretty long dry spell for myself with the United States Auto Club and getting in victory lane. And, that was a popular win, a great race for the fans to watch. And, we even a year later still get people coming up and they're excited about that race and hope to see another one just like it. So, we're excited for this week, and we've already been to victory lane once this year. So been close a couple other times. And, the Moose Racing 92 group, they've got a couple badass race cars prepped up for us, and we're ready to hit it.
You're only 38. You're not old. You're not old for another 16 years, and then we can start calling you old. But you're only 38 here, right? Chase Stockin, my guest. Again, Indiana Sprint Week presented by K&N Filters. It is the NOS Energy Indiana Sprint Week for USAC. Again, plenty of opportunity to watch this racing. I want to ask one other aspect just in terms of the challenge of it, Chase, and that is just from, the mentally exhausting standpoint. I know you guys are a different breed, and I know, it isn't just the cars that are pretty wicked bad, right? I mean, you guys have a different mentality. But what point in it, even though you get a night of reprieve through these races, when does it become mentally draining? When does it get to the challenge of just keeping the focus throughout, the feature each night, getting yourself to that point and not letting yourself slip?
Yeah, I don't know. That kind of goes, for me anyway, it goes on a night-to-night basis. And I think the best way to put it, you almost have to have like a goldfish brain. Just forget about what happens. Try to dissect and, not make mistakes happen. But, when they do, you just, like I said, goldfish brain, just forget about it and move on and look forward instead of behind you.
A little Ted Lasso working in there. I like that. I like it, Chase. Again, Dirt Track at IMS coming up on the 23rd. Now, my math tells me, Eddie, that the 23rd would be Thursday. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thursday night, then Friday at Lincoln Park, followed by the 25th at Kokomo, 26th Lawrenceburg Speedway, 27th back in Indy Circle City Raceway. I love that track down on the near southeast side. Paragon on the 29th, then Terre Haute on the 30th, Bloomington the 31st, Tri-State that is on August 1st, and that rounds things out. Chase, I wish you the best of luck. I know you guys are half crazy. I know that you like, and that's defined by the fact that you like Lincoln Park, the band, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we certainly wish you the best of luck, and I love it. I know race fans love it. They love being able to go out there, get some good food, and, of course, wear the goggles because the dirt's going to be flying, but it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of action, and we certainly wish you the best of luck with it.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on. And, if anybody in the listening area has not been to a sprint car race, I urge you to look up USAC Racing on Facebook or X and see if you can get out to one of these races. And I guarantee you're not going to be disappointed.
I would totally agree with that. It is, when you go into those turns, man, and things are kind of going sideways, literally, and the angles that you guys run, all of it is awesome. USACRacing.com, by the way, for the entire schedule as well. Chase Stockin joining us. Eddie, we mentioned our power rankings that we're going to do, right?
Yeah, can you give me like 15 minutes? I got to finish putting the touch up on the graphics.
You haven't done that just yet?
Oh, no. See, I had to think of this.
They're going to kill us anyway because we're up against it, so you get a little extra time here to come up with it.
This is Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Moving forward, indeed, what we do with all of the teams here locally, and as I mentioned off the top of the show, and good morning to you. My name is Jake Query, Eddie Garrison, the other voice you hear on this program.
Good morning, Jake.
How
How
are
are
you?
you?
Query and Company here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. I'm well. I got a solid night of sleep after a rough night the night before, so now Tuesdays are usually the day when I really start to hit the ground running, right?
Do you run?
I do.
Nice.
Yourself?
No, not so much.
Why not?
Not a big run guy.
Did you score a lot of runs when you were a baseball player?
I wish I could say I did.
When you got on base, did you find often that there would be a pinch runner that was elated at the opportunity that you got on base?
Courtesy runner, I think, is what they called them, Jake.
Courtesy runner?
Courtesy runner, yes.
Okay.
That way the catcher can go into the dugout and have his gear on and ready so that when the half inning is over, it speeds the game up.
Really?
Yes.
Is that like an IHSAA, not rule, but
with 2 outs, it is. You have to do it with 2 outs, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea. They should put that in place in Major League Baseball, right? Speaking of which, in our Major League Baseball bet, our listener who was partaking in this, and again, there's no wagering on this. This is basically all just bragging rights. Although if a listener is able to win, and I still need to, I had sent a message to Ray, JJ as well, and who had Brazil? Do we remember who had number 17? Those are our 3 winners. Scotty. So Scotty, who had Brazil, number 17. And then JJ, who had Argentina, and Ray, who had Spain. We need your information. You are getting gift cards from Chicago's Pizza as part of our numbers game for the World Cup. The other thing that we have done each and every year is Eddie and I both picked 2 teams in Major League Baseball. These are of teams that their over-under was like 90 wins on the year. And then Damon, our listener, participated as well. We each got to pick 2 teams. Damon selected the Athletics and the Giants. He went with the Bay Area connection, and unfortunately not going well for him. I think he's at like 84. Eddie, I took the Guardians and the White Sox. All right? They've gone back and forth, but they are the top 2 teams in the American League Central. You took the Arizona Diamondbacks and I believe the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pirates,
correct,
not necessarily pulling their weight, but Arizona has done very well for you, correct?
Well, Pittsburgh, going into yesterday, I don't know what the result was of the Arizona game, had 52 wins, Jake.
Okay, my mistake then. I didn't realize that I knew that they started out really well, right?
Going into yesterday, because I have been keeping somewhat close tabs on this, the Cleveland Guardians had 52 wins. The Chicago White Sox had 52 wins. The Pittsburgh Pirates had 52 wins, and the Arizona Diamondbacks had 51 wins.
It's amazing. Arizona and Pittsburgh right now, 52 and 50, 52 for Pittsburgh, 51 for Arizona. You are at 103, right? 53 apiece for Chicago and Cleveland. I'm at 106. But it's been pretty neck and neck here, and I think it probably will be over the course of the year. I also, nobody cares, but I will mention last night I watched the Blue Jays. They lost again to the Rays. They've lost like 8 times this year to Tampa. That puts them 11.5 back, and I'm now starting to think that it's over, even for the wild card. That even though, wouldn't it just be the case that I get on board with something and then it goes completely up in smoke? Speaking of up in smoke, and I don't mean this flippantly, I'm being serious. It is, obviously it's tragic, right? But the last couple of days outside, I've not been able to determine. I mean, yesterday I was driving on 465 and I'm looking ahead and you could see the haze on the horizon. I mean, it was like being in Los Angeles. That, of course, the wildfire smoke from Canada. That's not applicable to a sports radio show per se. And maybe it's a terrible analogy, but it did seem representative of so many things about sports in general. And the way that in this town, more often than not, we have been blessed in Indianapolis, historically speaking, to have periods where concurrently the Pacers and Colts have the best teams and the best thing going in their respective leagues. Clearly in the early 2000s, around the time just before the brawl, I hate to bring up a bad subject, but, when Peyton Manning and that era of Colts were playing and the Pacers were coming off of the Reggie years, but that was when you had Tinsley and Jermaine and Artest and Steven Jackson. I mean, that group was really good, and they were, they won 60 games, and the Colts were elite. And then in the Andrew Luck era, you had a 2 to 3 year period there where both of them were, pretty elite. But they're, we have been blessed in that regard. But more often than not, you have teams that have that cloud of uncertainty, and you don't know. You feel like it's going to clear up, and you're going to have a good idea. The Pacers, certainly we feel like they are going to put their best foot forward this year, assuming that they're healthy. And by the way, I don't know if this is breaking news or not, but I mentioned it yesterday. They are apparently going to wear the pinstripes this year as one of the 5 different uniform sets that they're wearing. Is that out there yet, Eddie?
I think it's been speculated. There's nothing concrete, but I think that is somewhat of a breaking news, Jake. Yeah, for sure.
It's my understanding that that's one of them that they're going to wear.
By the way, I know this is some PTSD for some Pacer fans. About an hour or so ago, they announced that the inaugural Pacers Foundation Charity Softball Classic, captained by Tyrese Halliburton, is coming to Victory Field on Monday, August the 24th.
Yeah, the celebrity softball game was where Paul George had, and I actually played in that game.
Did you really?
Yes.
One of my good friends, Karan, from Decatur Central High School, he now lives down in Florida. As soon as I got that press release, I sent him the screenshot. I said, does this give you PTSD? Because he was at that celebrity softball game and got somehow to talk to Paul one-on-one away from all the other fans. And they were talking about how he wanted to stay here. And then just hours later.
It was that night or the next night. I remember Kevin Pritchard was there.
Yeah.
And it was shortly after when Paul George expressed through his agent his desire to be traded.
And my buddy Karan texted me. He goes, well.
Now, here's what I want to know.
Thanks for that memory, Eddie.
Let's speculate now before we get to our power rankings here. It says on there local sports celebrities, correct? Can you list for me what it says in the flyer for the upcoming Pacers Foundation Tyrese Halliburton celebrity softball game? It mentions who being involved in terms of playing in it.
The event will bring together some of Indiana's biggest names in sports and entertainment to raise funds and awareness for youth food insecurity across the state. General admission tickets $10. Those are available starting on Friday.
So let's start picking right now who's going to play in this, okay? I think obviously McAfee will be involved because he and Halliburton are buddies, right?
Yep.
So we got that, okay?
I guarantee you that Pat would be the other captain, right?
That's probably right, okay?
Or it's
other than the obvious Pacer players.
Here are the names of people that are scheduled to attend or be a part of this: Neesmith, Nimhard, McConnell, and other members of the Pacers and Indiana Fever.
Okay.
Colts players featuring Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Alec Pierce, Sauce Gardner, Cam Bynum.
No, hold on.
And Mo Alley Cox.
Okay, so I'm assuming those guys are going to – Daniel Jones and Alec Pierce, zero chance they're playing in this, right?
Who knows?
Zero chance.
They could be.
Zero chance.
They could be.
Zero chance.
No, here's what they should do. They should have them hit and then auction off as like a Daniel Jones runner, you know? Kind of like, growing up, you have an all-time hitter or whatever.
Understood, but I'm telling you right now, zero chance. I once was in a negotiating situation with someone about a potential freelance employment job, and it was all going to be like incentive-based, and I said in the meeting, I said to them, what is the initial guarantee in terms of amount that will be paid? And this guy put his hand in the round thing and very loudly said, 0. 0 is your guarantee. That is the percentage chance that the Indianapolis Colts, coming off of an ankle surgery or an Achilles surgery for their franchise quarterback and franchise wide receiver, invert the injuries there in the order in which I said them. There is a 0% chance that they are going to let them go out there
Now,
and
Jake,
move at all.
kind of like with you in this LeBron to Indy thing, there's always a 1% chance.
With LeBron, there is. With the Colts allowing them to play in a celebrity softball game when we don't know if they will be on the field for practices at Grand Park, it's a 0% chance. Okay.
McAfee will MC the event.
What's that?
McAfee will MC the event.
Yeah, I figured he would be involved. Okay, so outside of him, though, local celebrity-wise, so we got to look at, I'm thinking the Watson's girl, okay? Peter Francis Geraci, does he live here? Peter Francis Geraci. The Keller and Keller, the one guy that means business, is he going to be there?
Boomer, the Pacemates, Hype Crew, Fever Inferno, and Freddie Fever will be there. Blue has to be involved some way, right?
J&V will be there, right? We know that.
Yeah, probably.
So if J&V's there, then by default, Hagen's there, right?
Yeah.
And then Amp Harris will be there.
Joey
right?
Molinaro.
Joey Molinaro will be there. Yep. Amp Harris.
Yep.
Goes without saying. Oh, B Swift. B Swift will be there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Our colleague. Let me see if he's out. Sometimes if I look out in the hallway, I can see him. I can rope him in and get his lowdown on it. Who else are we missing here?
I can't think of anybody else.
Sammy Terry. I think Sammy Terry,
Terry Stacy.
new install. Oh, Terry Stacy is a good call. Yep. I'll write down Terry Stacy. Okay.
Mitch Daniels.
Okay, that's not. Mitch Daniels is a huge baseball fan, huge Dodgers fan, and Mitch Daniels' grandfather-in-law was a Hall of Famer for the Cubs, second baseman. So that's not a bad call.
Oh, there was an actress who was just nominated, I think, for a couple of awards.
Mike Epps clearly going to be there, right?
Yeah.
Mike Epps is there. That goes without saying. Clayton Anderson.
Yes.
Clayton Anderson will be there. Okay. Who else are we missing?
There's who's the actress? She was at North Central.
Oh, she won an Oscar.
Yes.
She's probably catapulted beyond Indianapolis, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
she just recently won an Oscar. Yeah.
Now,
Olivia's going to kill me because she went to high school with her.
Between the two of us, myself and the woman you're mentioning, there's one inductee into the North Central Hall of Fame, by the way, between the two of us.
Oh, wow. I didn't know Olivia was in the North Central Hall of Fame.
No, between myself and the award-winning actress.
Okay.
But I'm guessing and truthfully, I only got in because somebody, for legal purposes, got removed. And literally, so they had to take somebody out. The North Central Hall of Fame, they had to take somebody out.
So it was a pity.
What's that?
It was out of pity.
There was somebody that was in, and then they removed that person. It was a fairly high-profile case, and then literally like 3 months later, I got a letter in the mail. I'm like, oh, and by the way, it is. I don't take it lightly. I am very honored to be there. And yes, I understand that she will be there very soon.
I know he plays for the New York Giants, but I guess he can't make the drive back or the
Miss
fly
Universe.
back.
Miss Universe also from North Central. She'll be in there, right?
I was going to say Tyrone Tracy, but he's got things to be doing with the G-men.
Connor Daly. Connor Daly will be there.
Oh, good call. Good call. Yeah.
Because it's on a Monday. Okay,
Chase
are you ready
Infinity.
for what's
Chase
that?
Infinity. That is her name.
Okay.
Chase Infinity. What a name. I would love to have a name like that.
Named after a bank and a luxury vehicle?
Yeah. What are you doing? Oh, I'm chasing Infinity.
That is pretty solid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With my luck, if I decided to become some big time star, I suddenly would be known as, well, Star Bank. So you could go with Star, right? But I'd be Star Kia, or nothing wrong with a Kia, but I'm saying it's not an Infinity, right? A Yugo. I'd be Star Yugo.
Okay. Pinto?
Kias are nice. They got 200,000 mile warranty on those things.
Yeah, I know. They're good.
They are.
Durable.
I like the, who makes the Telluride? Is that a Kia?
Yes.
Those are pretty sweet looking. All right, are you ready for our power rankings?
Power rankings on Query and Company.
Okay, here's what we're doing. Back when I was a kid, the Washington Township Tennis, Barbara Wynn was the matriarch of the North Central tennis courts, Washington Township Tennis, and everyone played tennis. Everyone played tennis except for me. And so finally one summer I said, you know what, maybe I should take tennis lessons just so I could be out there with Chris and John Love and Eric Barrett and all these guys that were great tennis players, right? Tag Burge and Jim Burge, they're all great tennis players. I wanted to be out there with it. And the introductory tennis program was called the Summer Wonders. And I thought maybe I could be a summer wonder. I never did actually join that, but these are the summer wonders of the Indianapolis Colts. And by that I mean, Eddie, here is and I mentioned this. Now, the guy that I mentioned earlier and we talked about, do you have him on your list or did you agree with my disclaimer?
I agreed with your disclaimer.
Okay. This is essentially the honorary Duron Carter list of Colts training camp wonders.
The Duron Carter Award, if you will.
The Duron Carter Award. These are the players of yesteryear or maybe currently that they were all the rage in training camp. And that's not to say that they didn't maybe have a flash-in-the-pan career on the regular roster. But the forecast for them through training camp was such that it was like, oh, my gosh. And then you realized that was the peak. That was – it didn't get better than that. Now, the reason I say it is because, again, I at times can be a cynic. I remember covering the Rams and being in Macomb, Illinois, and everybody like, oh, this linebacker, Troy Pelchak. Man, wait till you see Troy Pelchak. Troy Pelchak is – Mike Jones is like, he's out there making plays, flying around making plays. Everybody's flying around making plays. Troy Pelchak, Troy Pelchak, Troy Pelchak. Last cut, Troy Pelchak. Gone. Those kinds of players that you hear about them, and you have to take training camp often with a grain of salt because you just never know. But, Eddie, we have ranked them 5 through 1. Would you like to lead off or would you like for me to lead off?
Number 5.
I'll start, Jake.
Okay.
And I'm going to be short and concise with all these just so that we can get through all 5 of them, all right? So here, if in honor of number 5, I have a picture for you.
Oh, okay.
And you'll be able to see it up there on your TV.
So I'll be able to recognize who this is.
Can you tell me the name of that former Colt?
Jeffrey Gorman.
No.
I'm looking on the right-hand side. I can't see it very well. I don't have my glasses on, to be honest with you. My first guess would be that that's but although he played for the Colts, and I can't remember his first name, Aaron Moorhead.
No.
Okay.
That is the former Colts quarterback who was competing with a guy that many will remember that we will talk about later. I'm not going to reveal what year it was.
Let me ask you this. Does that guy have a famous uncle?
I don't know. This was a photo from 10 years ago, by the way, if you're watching on YouTube,
Okay.
Facebook, or on Twitter. That would be one Stephen Morris.
Okay, nice. All right. So my number 5, I'm going to go with a guy that in 2002, going on the way back, I don't even know if they still have statistics kept from the preseason of 2002, but this guy seemingly was one that was making plays all over the place, and people got super excited. He was out of Buffalo. I don't know if he was a late pick or whatnot, but a wide receiver, Drew Haddad, goes on my list. Drew Haddad was going to break into the rotation.
By the way, that picture was taken at a Hardee's.
That looks like a grocery store.
It was.
Was that you in that picture?
That was yes. That was me.
Go back
from
to
10,
that photo.
That was from me from 10 years ago. Yeah. That's me.
I've got, unfortunately, the lighting in here, I've got a glare that's going right over it. But that actually, I thought for a second that was Aaron Moorhead and Doogie Howser, from what I can tell from here.
See, I was like a junior or I can't remember if I was a junior or a senior. I think it was my senior year of high school.
Okay.
And it was one of those days in high school now where if you're a senior, you get the day off. If you have a job shadow or you do some, you take like the SAT or something like that. It was for like the sophomores and juniors.
So you claimed you were taking the SATs and instead you went to go get burgers with the 4th string quarterback.
So fun fact, my dad's boss at the time, shout out Mac, knew Greg Rakestraw, and he knew that I wanted to go into sports broadcasting. And so Mac reached out to Greg because at that time Rakestraw was the program director of the Fan. He goes, hey, one of my good guys here that I work with, Tom, his son is, wanting to get into sports broadcasting. He's got a day where he has to like do some sort of job shadow. Would he be able to job shadow the shows on the Fan?
Did you job shadow the folks at Hardee's too?
So Michael Grady and Big Joe Stasiak were live at Hardee's because it was the Monday after like a training camp day, I think, a game or a preseason game. And so I was there, and Stephen Morris stopped by as a guest at the Hardee's.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
The time flies, no question.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Time flying to the point where let's do this. You still have 4 of them to mention. I still have 4 of them to mention. We'll do it other side
Sounds
here.
good.
Query and Company on the Fan.
Barry and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Couple of house cleaning notes before we get back into our list. First off, tonight, 6 o'clock, Beyond the Bricks. It will be taking place each night this week at 6 p.m. Mike Thompson and myself with a look at the history of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, typically via audio. So a lot of old interviews, radio calls, that sort of a thing. And always fun, always enjoy it.
What was last night's show about, Jake? Do you know? Do you remember?
Closest finishes in 500 history.
Okay.
I believe we ran I think we looked back at all the 10 closest finishes.
Do you know what's coming up on tonight's show that people can look forward to? Or is it way too early for you to be prepping and knowing what's going to be going on at 6 p.m.?
Probably the latter. As much as I hate to say that. I can find out. I can run down the hall real quick and ask Landon. That's a good question.
I'm glad
Yes.
Landon would know what's going on with Beyond the Breaks and not the host of the show.
Yeah,
But then again, you hardly know what's going on with this show, so not surprising.
No, wait a minute. Are you knocking my prep work?
Prep work? What's prep work?
Would you say that I'm a prepared individual when I arrive at work?
Depends on the day.
Okay.
And how much sleep you got the night before.
That is okay. That's fair. That is definitely fair. Also, two other things. Shoes Appliance. I'm going to be there coming up on Friday. Friday's the 24th, correct?
That's correct, yes. If the 23rd is Thursday, that would mean the 24th is Friday.
Certainly look forward to that, by the way. 4705 East 96th Street. 4705 East 96th Street at Shoes Appliance. I'm going to be there from 4 until 6 p.m. giving away Brickyard 400 tickets. So if you are wanting to head to the Brickyard 400, I look forward to seeing you at Shoes Appliance at 4705 East 96th Street on Friday from 4 until 6. Also, we now know the dates of which, clearly this show will be on the road for a lot of the Colts training camp. But I also look forward to the State Fair Dairy Bar, baby. It's one of my favorite events that we do. August 7th.
We've got some tickets to give away for that.
Fair. We have tickets to give away to the State Fair as well, right?
Yes. Shows how much you pay attention to the prep document.
I do. We have 4 tickets to give away, right? A 4-pack to give away.
Correct.
I know these things. Okay, speaking of 4, and we'll do that coming up in just a little bit. Speaking of 4, we have 4 to get to here for our Summer Wonders. These are our Colts one-hit wonder or two-hit wonder, but training camp phenoms that just for whatever reason you got super excited about it and it never really translated. We have already named Stephen Morris is Eddie's number 5. Mine was Drew Haddad, the wide receiver. Eddie, go ahead with me for your number 4.
Number 4.
I'm going with another quarterback, Jake. And this is a guy who was, man, I remember the mania for this player during training camp and the outpour of fans saying that he needs to start. They need to give him a shot. And I'm not talking about Anthony Richardson. I'm talking about one Chad Kelly. Number 4 for me.
Okay. It's hard to argue that. It is hard to argue that. I'm going to go with, I had down for my number 4 a wide receiver, and then I looked it up, and I'm like, he did play in a number of games in the regular season and have some moments, so I took him off the list.
Oh. Well, good to know.
I'm going to go with who Stephen Holder mentioned at number 4. My apologies, because I think I had given you the name of Blair White, but Blair White did translate, so take off that our little graphic here where I had already typed in Blair White. My apologies. I'll go with Philip Walker for number 4 because that is a guy at quarterback that seemingly, and he's been around the league forever, but spent so much time with the Colts in and out of practice squads and everything else. I know I had Blair White as number 4. You can go ahead and put that down. Your number 3.
I wish I could, Jake. Number 3, you say? For number 3 for me, let's see. Where do I go next? I have to re-pull up my list here, Jake, just to make sure I don't go out of order. Oh, this guy. Okay, this particular player, I don't remember a lot of him. And then I was, looking up some stuff in preparation of this. and consulting with a lifelong friend of mine. That wouldn't be my only friend, I guess. One Alec Roy, and we were talking about this particular player. And Alec highlighted the fact that this guy was one of those freak athletes that was supposed to take off at the NFL level when he was given the opportunity, and it just never happened. That would be one Daniel Adongo.
Boy, and that story has gone way awry. A lot of legal problems for Daniel Adongo. He used to work out at Lifetime Fitness, and yes, he was one that he was a rugby star internationally, and they were very patient with him to hope that translated because he was, physically speaking. That's a really good one, Eddie. That's a really good one because they gave it every opportunity and never panned out, and then he had some legal problems, and unfortunately, that story has turned negatively for certain. All right, my number 3 is one that you had. Over the course of training camp statistics and preseason games, he was 54 of 73, threw for a pair of touchdowns, and everyone and their brother wanted this guy to get his opportunity. There were people that were like, he should start. Why are they not starting him? He had a troubled past in college, but he had a very famous uncle. He had turned things around. Chad Kelly is my number 3.
Number 2.
Number 2 for me, Jake. The last 2 on the list, a pair of wide receivers.
Okay.
The order in which they fall is up for debate.
Okay.
The guy that I'm going with at number 2, he is, I think, more recent than the guy who is number 1 for me. And it's not Strachan, it's Mike Strawn.
Hard to argue that. That's another one that
Megatron 2.0. Remember? Dude was bigger than everybody. He was freaky athletic. Then just could not put it all together.
Looked like Tarzan, played like Jane, right?
Bingo. There you go. Good one.
All right, my number 2 is a guy that over the course of 3 years, and look, dynamic college player, dynamic high school athlete, flat-out athlete, and a good dude, and a solid player and a local player. So I mean no disrespect, but over 3 years in the preseason, 37 catches for 450 yards and a pair of touchdowns. John Standiford is my number 2. John Standiford out of Purdue and Monrovia is my number 2.
And number 1, if you couldn't guess,
Number 1.
obviously with Mike Strawn being number 2, the other wide receiver would be Deion Kane. A late-round pick out of Clemson that had all the tools, and everyone thought, when he was at Clemson, he was a solid player.
He was.
Thought that he would, because it was a health, particularly, right, with Kane, because there was a group of wideouts, I'm trying to remember who all it was. Justin Ross, that Clemson had that had some injuries. And then Mike Williams. There's another one. And they all got drafted. They fell down the board because of their set injuries. And I can't remember if Deion Kane was one of them. You would probably remember more than I.
Deion Kane came in. He had a finger. I think he had a broken finger and a finger surgery, odd as that sounds. Justin Ross had like a stenosis. Justin Ross, as a freshman in college, was unbelievable. Mike Williams literally had like a fractured vertebrae in a football injury. But Deion Kane, the only pushback I would give with Deion Kane, Eddie, would be he missed his freshman year, the national championship game, due to, I think it was a drug suspension. And so as in college, he was an elite level because he had come in as like a 5-star recruit. He was the can't miss 5-star, huge recruit. And, back when Clemson had Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson and, these great quarterbacks. And so there was a lot of expectation, but it's almost like at Clemson, the same thing held true. You were waiting for it to happen. And that's fair. I don't think he made it through an entire training camp, right?
I can't remember.
We mentioned earlier the celebrity softball game that's upcoming.
Yep.
I played in a celebrity basketball game with Deion Kane, and I was a huge Clemson fan, so I'm like, oh my gosh. And he was a nice enough guy. That was the game I think I told you that we played him with Jacoby Brissett, and Jacoby Brissett took 38 shots. He didn't. It was interesting he's a quarterback because Jacoby Brissett, who is a good basketball player and a very good shooter, but he did not have a single pass in that game. My number 1 is a guy that, again, maybe unfair because he did get his shot in the regular season. But as a preseason player, his career preseason totals for the Colts over 2 years, 64 of 96 for 631 yards. But, and for whatever reason, it led the Colts to believe during one of the years when Andrew Luck was not ready to go from the get-go, they believed that this was a guy they could turn to. And there was a lot of promise about this guy and a lot of hope and expectation about this guy. And they said, he's our guy. And it was not Kerry Collins level disaster when Peyton Manning was hurt, but it was disastrous nonetheless. But it was because of training camp that for whatever reason, the Colts saw that this was a guy that they needed in their stable and could trust until Andrew Luck was back. And if Andrew Luck was going to, say retire early, that this guy is somebody that they felt good because he was in their mix and in their fold. And the regular season hit, and literally midnight struck. Scott Tolzien is my number one. Scott Tolzien is my number one.
Any audible mentions?
Duron Carter is who this is named for, okay? Because as we talked about earlier, when Duron Carter was signed, people were doing backflips. It was literally like watching a five-star recruit announce his college selection. So Duron Carter is the face of this award. Another guy out of Ohio State that just looked the part, and he did get opportunity in regular seasons. He made the roster on numerous occasions. But they waited and waited and waited. Mike Strawn is a really good one, but so too Roy Hall. Roy Hall looked the part. He was sleek. It was like, this is going to be the guy. Now, it's hard to kind of go back to the early Colts years and really assess it because, number one, truth be told, you didn't have the training camp coverage like you do now. You don't have the archive stats like you have now. But also, from 1984 to 1988, half of these guys were on the roster anyway, right? Some of the players the Colts rolled out there, it was just like, okay. It was the NFL in general is funny because more often than not, if you look at football cards or team photos of late 70s and early 80s, and I'm not talking the Steel Curtain Steelers or the Roger Staubach and Tom Landry Cowboys, but even those teams for that matter. But, half of the players look like guys that spend, like when I was a kid, all of the PE teachers and industrial arts, which, by the way, are two, I think, extremely important classes. But a lot of the teachers that you had in middle school or high school in the summertime would build decks or paint houses or have lawn care services, for something to do in the off season of teaching. Literally, football cards from back then looks like actually what those guys did was they played in the NFL through the week, whatever on Sundays, and then they went back to teaching at Fulton Monday through Friday. That's what guys looked like back then. And so it's hard to know some of the guys that might have come through in the early years, that Ed Simonini and guys like that might have been good players. I don't know. But you looked at them and you're like, I don't know. Really? George Wansley was one. I thought George Wansley was going to be a really good player. Had his moments, but was just kind of there. And ended up, I think, getting traded. There was another running back in that era. I'm trying to think. George Wansley, and I think Wansley was part of the Dickerson trade. And I got to think of who the other running back was back then. But I agree when we talked to Stephen Holder earlier that running back is the position that more often than not perks up lightning in a bottle stars.
Caesar Rayford?
When was that?
I can't remember. That's just another name that I saw. It was a guy that had a good preseason, then got traded to Dallas.
I do remember that. He was traded for like a 5th-round pick, right?
I think it was like a 7th, maybe.
Yes, I do recall. I totally remember that. The running back in general, Jonathan Williams, wasn't that his name, that had like back-to-back 100-yard games for the Colts a couple of years ago?
Yes.
I mean, Vic Ballard was a dynamic
Jinx.
young running back. What's that?
I said Jinx. Said at the same time.
Yeah. He got hurt. But running back is the most fungible position now in the NFL, I think, where you can just, but as long as they keep Ulysses Bentley the fourth.
I'm surprised he didn't go on your list, Jake, just for S's and G's.
Ulysses Bentley? Well, I mean, you are selling him short. He still has his moment that's waiting for him. I love me some Ulysses Bentley the fourth. And I love the fact that when we had him on, he liked the accent and gave me full permission to use it. And then he got back on the polo grounds and finished his round. Yesterday, hot one in Nashville, but not necessarily a surprise. There was one surprising thing that happened. We'll get to that. And Scott Agnes, Fieldhouse Files, joins us top of the hour here at Query & Company on the Fan.
You're listening to Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Owen Gill. Owen Gill was the running back I was thinking of. Owen Gill was part of the Dickerson trade. He was the running back that was thrown in. I think he went to Buffalo. Greg Bell of Buffalo went to L.A. Dickerson came here, and then draft picks out the wazoo. But Owen Gill I always liked. When I was a kid growing up in Indy and the Colts first came to town, any sort of thing that you were a part of, any sort of youth group, they'd have like a Colts player appearance, that kind of thing. And it was always the same dudes. Leo Wisniewski always was good about that. Ron Stark was a big one. And I don't remember the guy that was, I always thought was kind of the star back then. And I don't know, he was a solid player and he was a fringe Pro Bowl type player. But because he was a good-looking guy that had played at USC, in my mind as a kid in the early years of the Colts, I felt like Dwayne Bickett was like the one star the Colts had. Chris Hinton was a great player, and we knew that Chris Hinton was a great player. And Ray Donaldson was a very good, solid player. But Dwayne Bickett was the one guy that felt kind of Hollywood out of all of them. And then Dickerson came, and it changed everything.
Some people on the text line, Jake, honorable mentions. This is from Shane, Roy Hall and Jason Bean.
Jason Bean for certain.
Gary Noblesville, Anthony Gonzalez.
Yeah, but he was a first-round pick, though.
Yeah. Fair.
I mean, I get Anthony Gonzalez. I don't disagree that was his one shining moment, right?
And Scott said 2013 on the Caesar Rayford, 5 sacks in the preseason.
Harvey Armstrong. Yes, Bart. Harvey Armstrong, another one that was always around. Harvey Armstrong was a great community guy, right?
By the way, we know that we are international, at least in terms of listenership in Australia, Jake, with your friends.
That's right.
From Australia. How about friend of the program, good guy, raised a good son, Mo Zuver texts me. Hey, Eddie. Mo here from Paris. Listen to you guys as we stroll through. You guys sound great. And he's got a picture that he sent me.
Oui. You know, they and probably he could stop people right now in Paris, and they would have their own ideas as to which Colts players make this list, right?
And he's wearing his Colts hat?
That's the least surprising thing of all time, right?
It's true.
I do recall going in, it's not in the Louvre, but I was in, I believe it's called Galleria Academia, the gallery in Florence, Italy, where Michelangelo's David is. And I knew that, and this is not the
Now,
case
is it
with Bo.
Michelangelo or Michelangelo?
I say Michelangelo. That's a good question there. But, and I don't know if you know, but David by Michelangelo was, I'm obsessed with that. It's the greatest piece of art in the history of mankind. And it was initially designed to be atop the Duomo in Florence to look out over towards Rome as a warning. But it was such a perfect, they were so blown away by the sculpture of it that they had it on display at street level until eventually they realized due to weathering it needed to be moved indoors. But the reason why it is considered to be perfection is because it was a block of marble that was so porous that every other artist determined that any sort of engrave or sculpting with it would disintegrate the entire block. And Michelangelo spent 4.5 years behind basically closed curtain and said, I can do it. And he was 28, I believe, at the time. And no one thought he could do it. And then it turned out to be not just the most beautiful statue ever made, but also the symmetry of the lines within the marble are uninterrupted. So it's like, it literally is perfection. But at any rate, in the gallery, I looked over when we were in there, and there was a guy wearing cutoff, I kid you not, denim shorts, not cutoffs, but denim shorts and a Texas A&M baseball cap and a New York Jets jersey. And he was using like a 17th century piece of marble art to lean up against in the gallery. And I've never seen an international incident faster of people basically, the security that bum rushed him But Mo would not do that. But he does have his Colts hat on, which I love. Now, the yesterday IndyCar, the winner, Alex Palou, that is not a surprise. Alexander Rossi and Scott Dixon having an incident on track was surprising because Rossi said he was going to pit. Dixon had no indication of that. I think he had passed by the commit line, and Dixon just barreling into him when Rossi was off throttle was the surprise of the day. But Palou getting the win in very hot conditions. Joseph Newgarden was second. Solid run, David Malukas. Also solid run for Mick Schumacher.
Now, Jake, Dixon ran into the part that everyone became familiar with if you were following IndyCar during the month of May last year, the attenuator.
That's right. Well, listen. When Dixon correct, the attenuator that was the violation last year for Tim Penske, right?
Yeah.
He can't. Dixon, again, maybe Rossi could have used a hand signal to let him know he was turning left or turn on the turn signal because Dixon had no indication he was off throttle. And the attenuator indeed became spotlighted in that. Good recall there, Eddie. We come back. Fever in action tomorrow night. They are getting ready for their all-star game. But is there a yin and a yang with them? We'll explain next. Hey there, Jake Query for Surfside. I love it when I'm out and about, and especially in this kind of weather, and I see somebody enjoying a Surfside, and I say they're enjoying basically sunshine in a can, because that's what it is, right? The Sunset Stripes right there in a can. Iced tea with vodka, lemonade with a splash of vodka. The blueberry lemonade has been huge, but I've also gotten to know the folks at Surfside, and they are great folks, great people, and they are putting out a great product that people are enjoying. Perfect for this time of year because no carbonation and oh, so smooth. Surfside, look for it wherever you buy your favorite adult beverages. Please be 21 and please consume responsibly.
You're listening to Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Indiana Fever are in action tomorrow night, taking on the Connecticut Sun, 8 o'clock. Pregame can be heard beginning at 7:30 right here on this radio station. We'll get into that in just a second. But before we do so, 12 o'clock hour underway. Hope those of you that are out and about getting ready for your lunch break are enjoying this Tuesday. Maybe you're on your way to Chicago's Pizza for their lunch buffet. Always a good idea, by the way. 19 Central Indiana locations. And again, a reminder, on Friday, Friday 4 until 6.
You're excused.
Thank you. I will be at Shuey's Appliance on 96th Street with Brickyard tickets to give away. Speaking of tickets to give away, we'll do it coming up in about 30 minutes. We have tickets to give away, a 4-pack to the Indiana State Fair. You can use those, for example, for August 7th, where I will be broadcasting live at the Dairy Bar, which I love. I love the State Fair, and I love the Dairy Bar. I love the grilled cheese. I love the milkshakes. I love everybody at the American Dairy Association of Indiana. They're good friends, and I love the work that they do, obviously, in their connection to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So August 7th there, first chance to kind of get out and about and get to see everybody. But again, Friday, 4 until 6, Shuey's Appliance. We talked about the Colts and the fact that 1 week from today, they will get things underway with their training camp. From a national perspective, the news of the day, I guess, would be the fact that Major League Baseball now comes back from the All-Star break. The Cubs actually are playing really well. Eddie, you're a Reds fan. They are not playing well, right?
Well, Jake, it's July. The Reds don't play well after the All-Star break.
The Reds do well till Carb Day, right?
Well, this year it was just not even then, unfortunately.
ESPN's got some people being let go, correct?
Yeah, Kyle Ravitch, Ryan Clark, I think Tom Pelissero, who is with NFL Network, he is one of their senior reporters, was let go today as well. Bart Scott was let go. Those are some of the names that have been reported so far by various outlets.
Yeah, that's you never want to see any of that go through. I think ESPN is just one that, from a television standpoint, and obviously, we air their radio programming as well. It's a constant evolution in terms of just networks in general and the way that people consume things, the attention span of people. I think it is interesting to me. And listen, folks, I certainly appreciate and I understand and I appreciate in terms of audio content as well. Things have become just so on demand. So those of you that listen, whether it's on podcast form to this radio show or live right now on the radio, it is very much appreciated. No question about it. But again, I mentioned the Fever. Pacers also. Yesterday there was news with the Pacers in the fact that they made a wave of Talon Peter. And that is one of the guys that was on the 2-year contract. He was a late-round draft pick out of Liberty a year ago, spent his rookie year. He did get plenty of time. Scott Agnes joining us now from Fieldhouse Files, and I'll bring in Scott. Before we get into the Fever stuff, Scott, talking about Talon Peter, and Scott joins us, by the way, on the Schwab Men's 2-in-1 hotline. Scott, I think Peter a year ago had, and I don't know him personally, seems like a very nice young guy, and I think they were intrigued by his kind of underdog story collegiately and hoping that he could develop more into, I guess, consistency from the three-point line. He is a good defender, but I think that over the course of last year, because he got plenty of opportunity to show it, his three-point shooting percentage did not uptick enough to convince them, you know what, this is what we got to stick with. And I don't know that it showed necessarily throughout Summer League that he had taken the next step, and so therefore he was expendable. Do you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I think so. You're exactly right. He was a guy that came in highly touted from Liberty. So kind of off the map, I think, to the general population, but someone the Pacers had their eye on for quite a while, and a guy that they had high hopes for in terms of contributing from that outside shot, being somewhat of a two-way player, and fitting with a two-way contract would give an ample opportunity. But because as you mentioned, due to the injuries last season, he got much more of an opportunity than he probably could have imagined going into the year. And then, quite frankly, Jake, you go into Summer League, and I can't even think of 2 or 3 highlights that stood out for a guy that should be a little bit more comfortable, should have familiarity within the system. And we really didn't talk about him. We talked about Jalen Slauson. We talked about Braden Smith and Yuki and Kamamari and how successful those guys were. To this point, they have a logjam of two-way guys. And the fact that they were able to get Kobe Brown, who was on a standard contract rookie deal last year, to come down to a two-way deal, that took away a spot that they probably anticipated would be there.
Okay, so right now, as it stands, you are allowed to keep, and Scott, forgive me for going over this, but I want to for those that are listening and maybe are unfamiliar, right? You are allowed to keep 3 two-way players, correct?
That's right.
A two-way player, of course, being a player that is not only under contract by the Pacers, but also the Noblesville Boom. So they go back and forth. And I always forget this, Scott, in terms of the finite of how many games they play in the G League for Noblesville and then back with the Pacers. Is there a designed number of games or a maximum threshold of what they can play?
Yeah, that number is 50. It's 50 games with the parent club, so with the Pacers, that they are able to be utilized for. And that became notable last season, right, because Quentin Jackson and Ethan Thompson, those guys were up against it a little bit late in the season. And so the other 2 key points, I think, in all this is, one, the salary is slotted. There's no negotiation there. It's half the minimum contract, so roughly $700,000. So think about Braden Smith. It's got to be a significant pay cut for him. We don't know exactly what he was making right at Purdue, but I would guesstimate $3-4 million perhaps at Purdue. He would be slotted in at $700,000. And then the other key point listeners need to know about is this does not impact the team's salary cap. It does not push you into the luxury tax, nothing like this. The point of this is to give players, young players, guys that need opportunities, a space to make more money than they would just with the G League, which you're talking about only $75,000. But it gives teams an opportunity for them to see them in both venues. So these guys do not count against the salary cap, which is very important to emphasize right now, given the Pacers' current circumstances.
Well, so here's the thing, Scott. This is why I bring it up. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but where it stands right now, Braden Smith has yet to I don't think officially ink that deal, but we know that he has the agreement, right? And the Pacers clearly are going to give him one of them because they traded back into the draft to select him, right? They're not going to do that and then turn around and not put him in one of those. So you have 4 players, okay? Jalen Slauson, who you mentioned, Kobe Brown, right? Ethan Thompson, and Braden Smith. Those 4 are vying for 3 spots with a two-way deal, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So one of them
was 5 for 3 entering Summer League.
What's that? Correct.
It was 5 players going for 3 spots.
Correct.
Now we have clarity with Peter. You're right.
Okay. So of those 4, and we're going to take Braden Smith off the board because I think that's a given because of what I just mentioned. So you have 2 spots and 3 guys: Ethan Thompson, Slauson, and Brown. Of those 3, let's begin with this one. The player that logistically, and I don't mean what they bring to the table on the court, okay, but all factors factored in, the player that would seemingly make the most sense to be the odd man out of that trio would be which?
I'd say right now it'd be Jalen Slauson because technically he does not have a contract. He has a qualifying offer.
Okay.
So logistically, not under contract. You're trying to figure out other ways to make it work with him.
Okay, now, having said that, in terms of each player's strength and what they bring to the table, and in situations where their number is called and they've got to give you 10 to 12 to 15 minutes for the Pacers in a regular season game, the player of those that least fits a need that the Pacers would likely have to benefit from would be which?
That's where I don't have a straightforward answer, right? Because on any given, to me, I lean towards the odd man out being Slauson in general because he doesn't have a contract. He had to seemingly go prove it in Summer League, and it does cross my mind, Jake, the fact that Ethan Thompson played with the national team in Puerto Rico, did not go to Summer League with the team. You would think if you had any indication that you were not safe, that you need to go prove it, would you not be at Summer League, at least for a couple games, like typically the Summer League veterans might do? And I think the change in all this happened because of Kobe Brown, the fact you were able to get him. And it's such a unique situation, Jake, because most teams, almost all teams, pick up the fourth-year player option on a guy. It's just so cheap, you figure it out later. The Clippers did not. Therefore, it made Kobe Brown a free agent this upcoming offseason. And clearly, there weren't many opportunities, and he liked his situation and fit here that he was willing to take a situation on a two-way deal. But to go back to your original question, the fit factor,
right?
I'm torn, quite frankly, between Ethan Thompson and Jalen Slauson.
See, I
because
think
they
Thompson,
provide very different things.
They do, and I like both of them, right? Ethan Thompson, by the way, and this is a really, really esoteric reference, but if you're like me and you watched the last 8 minutes of the 1987 National Championship game between Indiana and Syracuse on VHS every single morning of your high school career while you got ready for school, Stevie Thompson, as he was known at the time, was a freshman on that Syracuse team along with Derek Coleman. He might have been a sophomore, actually, but he was a young player and a sixth man on that Syracuse team. That's Ethan Thompson's dad, by the way, on the way back. But Thompson, because he's kind of a combo guard, I liked him last year. I thought he gave them good minutes and showed that he could score. But it seems to me, Scott, that he plays at, unfortunately for him, the thing that he brings to the table is the skill set where the Pacers have the most depth. And so, therefore, to me, Slauson, because he can play a little bit on the block, provide you some low block defense and rebound a little bit, I think Slauson brings a skill set that is the most coveted for what they need and might have cause for in an emergency situation in the regular season. That's
if we want to simplify it, I think you're exactly right. But I think if we want to simplify it, I think it comes down to the three-point shot. Slauson, you're really not counting on him for that. And if you really value at that, if you want guys that can space the floor and shoot to go along with what you already have, you're 100% going on with Thompson, who was one of the better G League shooters last year.
Where do we stand on Furphy, do you believe, in terms of, I guess, a two-part question, where his health is, number one, but number two, do you think, because I think he was starting to crack into, and last year was such a weird year in general, but Johnny Furphy, Scott Agnes, my guest, by the way, he is on the Schwab Men's 2-in-1 hotline. Johnny Furphy was starting to show, I think, that he could be in your, let's say, 9-man rotation. Then the injury happens. Do you think that puts him right back down to square one?
I don't. I think it's just a matter of slow rolling him back to that full comfort, both with his body and with this group. He's about 5 months removed from surgery, torn ACL. He was out at Summer League, moving along fine. We didn't see him on the court, obviously. But no, to me, Jake, if assuming good health, and I have no reason not to think that, I think I bet he may not be there right away because, I mean, usually these injuries, you're probably talking 9 to 12 months for an ACL potentially. I would think by Christmas is my just guess. I think he would be back in that spot and able to take off. Because I agree. I think he had more than just started to kind of earn that spot in that top 9, let's call it. Because then that was before Jarris Walker really popped off. It was Furphy that really stood out to us at that point. And really impressed. He has the size. And for those reasons, that's where it's another kind of a duplicate, maybe perhaps, with an Ethan Thompson, to your point. And so that's why it's such a great debate for this front office, because you're going to have Furphy. You just don't know exactly when, and you got to adjust accordingly.
And Scott, the funny thing about it to that point, I guess it's a luxury, right? In the fact that these discussions we're having are all guys that, and I mean this is no disrespect to them, if you're getting a ton of minutes out of them, you're probably getting away from where you think you are anyway, right?
And also, by the way, we're debating the 18th roster spot.
Right, that's what I mean, right?
That's where this Pacers team is. It's
good.
Quite funny, right? Because everything else mostly is solidified. We still have some questions with the Halliburton, with Furphy, and maybe a couple others, but that's basically it. And so that means you're in a good spot. And it goes back to that Peyton Manning line. Like, if it's anything else, you're screwed anyway.
Right. You're right. Scott Agnes, our guest, by the way, Fieldhouse Files, where you can read his work. He's on the Schwab Men's 2-1 hotline. Okay, Scott, we saw 2 games, the last 2 outings for the Fever. Game number 1, Caitlin Clark is unbelievable of these 2 games I'm mentioning. 45-10, but they need heroics late, and they got them, okay, from a number of players. She and Kelsey Mitchell were both very good in that game, but Caitlin Clark, an epic, historic performance. Night 2, Caitlin Clark, from a scoring standpoint, is deferring. Kelsey Mitchell has the hot hand. Caitlin Clark is an unbelievable facilitator, and they have an outstanding performance against New York where it's never really, for the last part of that game, in question. Now, the reason I ask that, and it's, I'm going to ask again what I've been asking a lot. I still don't know the answer. Are the Indiana Fever a better team when Caitlin Clark's primary role is scoring option 1? Or are the Indiana Fever a better team when Caitlin Clark's primary role is facilitator, and then once the floor is spread through her vision, then the score?
Yeah, I still believe it's absolutely the latter. I remain focused here on the fact that I still believe, the entertainment part, the 3-point shot, the logo ball, that gets people talking. But the reality is what makes her so special is her vision and the passing that then leads to everything else. So I love when her and Boston are out there and playing in that 2-man game, or when she's able to attack and there's Kelsey Mitchell for the spray out. Mitchell's having an incredible season, but also an incredible stretch right now with 10 straight games of at least 20 points, back-to-back 30-point nights. She's been their top scorer this season, and I think that's just fine. If it's Clark, great too. But the reality is I think this team is at their best, Jake, when Clark is – when we're watching how close is she to double-digit assists, much more than is she close to 30 points.
They obviously have Connecticut as a final step before the All-Star break. Then Thursday through Sunday, essentially, they're off. They get back, I would presume, practice Monday. Game on Tuesday in Seattle, a team that, again, not very good, but the Fever have struggled at times to be in cohesion when playing Seattle. That's a different talk show. But the break itself, is it coming, Scott, do you believe, at the right time or wrong time? Because it seems to me like they're kind of putting things together here, but is this a team in need of a rest?
Yeah, I would think right now it's probably, I would say, a wrong time, right? Because out west, while they did have 4 games, they also had some distance between those games. And even then, when they returned, they had a couple days between games before this home-friendly stretch. It feels like things are starting to click. It feels like everyone is becoming more assured of themselves and their particular role and what is being asked of them. So if anything, I would say the wrong time, but though I know all these teams would happily take this rest. It'll allow Clarkson a little bit of downtime. Boston, same thing. And Mitchell, outside of basically her body quitting on her in, fourth quarter of Game 5 of the semifinals, it's remarkable how she does this, and it comes looking so easily in terms of she doesn't look exhausted. She doesn't look tired. It doesn't look like the season is wearing on her by any means, and she's almost a 10-year vet at this point. So maybe she just has fundamentally her body completely maximized and under control on what it takes every single night.
By the way, you did go to NBA Summer League, correct?
I did, yes. I was out there for about a week.
Give me the star performer. Give me the one that everybody out there, and I don't mean Pacer, I mean in general in the league. Give me the player that had everybody buzzing, and give me the player where people were like, I thought I'd see more.
Well, it's interesting you asked that, because the reality is all the conversations are what's happening elsewhere. It's the convention. It's the scuttlebutt that is happening. So I don't even have those names directly for you, right? So what the most interesting thing, Jake, is what happens in the hallways connecting the two gyms, where it's agents in front office talking, media and people talking. I will say the top picks that first night in 2 really had everybody talking. AJ DeBonsa, obviously, what he was able to do. But you expect that. But outside of that, no, it's the number one the top conversations that were had out there were not about those players. It was, where's LeBron going, right? What's that situation going to look like? It was Gary Trent Jr.'s contract. Remember, you had, should the Pacers look into him? Could he be a guy the Pacers get? Nobody understands that contract with Milwaukee that he was able to get basically the full mid-level exception. A lot of questions and revolving around that. And then just what does this, does the second apron, how does that impact these teams? Is that a good thing? Those were the overwhelming conversations at Summer League.
Scott, are you becoming more and more frustrated like I am with the whole LeBron James saga? Like, can we just get a decision already? Stop drawing all this out. Adam Silver's waiting on you so he can make the schedule, for Christ's sake. Come on.
So here's what I would say, Eddie. There's no really trickle-down effect for these teams. If we assume he's taking a less contract, a minimum contract, it's not like it's going to shake up a team or there's going to be a mammoth trade. That's why I'm not too concerned about it, because every team's going to make room from him. Every team's going to be slotted in. I think it's very different than a Giannis situation, right, where it's going to change the outlook of 2 or 3, 4 different teams. With LeBron, it just impacts one team. He's in year 3 now. So, yes, we would like a decision, but I don't need a rush. What are we going to talk about instead?
Well,
Scott,
I think the decision from LeBron, Scott, is kind of holding up some of these other free agents. Like, I think there's a bunch of guys that are out there on the market that are waiting to see what LeBron does. Like, I know we haven't heard what's going on with him, but like Benedict Mathurin, for example, I have not seen like any reports on any teams being linked to him.
You guys are sleeping on the lead here.
Oh, boy.
You know why LeBron James has not yet made his decision official, correct?
Scott, by the way, is it LeBron or is it Rich Paul? I've heard it's Rich Paul. I have no idea.
Either one. The only
they're both
reason
creating unlimited content right now.
Biff Ward hasn't been able to find him the house yet.
Okay.
Once that happens, I don't know whether he's going to buy Jermaine's old house that still has the big number 7 on the top of it, and therefore it took a long time to sell. I don't know. But I'm telling you, that's the holdup, right? Or ask Matt. Any of those, I'm just telling you. That's the deal. Scott, what's the latest in Fieldhouse Files?
Yeah, talking about a couple things going on with the Pacers. Obviously, the Taylor Peter, the celebrity softball game coming back, and then got to write also about a lot that transpired out at Summer League. I was unable to have my laptop at games, so I have a lot to catch up on with all of that.
All right. Well, we look forward to it at Fieldhouse Files. Scott Agnes joining us, Schwab Men's 2-in-1 Hotline. Appreciate it, Scott.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Eddie, he just mentioned the softball game. Can you please alert everybody? We'll do it on the other side as to what that exactly is. And we will give away a 4-pack of tickets to the Great Indiana State Fair. Eddie will decide how we're going to do that. We'll do it next.
This is Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Halfway through the 12 o'clock hour, Jake Query along with Eddie Garrison here on a Tuesday.
How you doing, Jake?
And I'm well, thank you. We have more than just 2 tickets to paradise. We got 4 of them. Great Indiana State Fair. Before we get to that, 2 kind of house cleaning items to get back to. Number 1, if you're just joining us on the program today,
Where have you been?
Then you would not know about the fact that the Pacers announced that the Pacers Foundation will be hosting, coming up in August on a Monday evening, a celebrity softball game. Tyrese Halliburton will be the host of the event. I believe Pat McAfee is the MC of the event.
Mm-hmm.
And that, of course, as Eddie astutely pointed out, does have a little bit of
PTSD.
Yes, because that was the event. And I was there. I think I grounded out to T.Y. Hilton, if I'm not mistaken. But that was the event where Paul George was the host when they did the celebrity softball event. We got invited, Derek Schultz and I, back when I was doing that radio show with Derek, because Derek got really offended and upset over the fact that we had not been invited the previous year, and he made a big stink about it. And then he threatened, Derek did. Derek threatened that he was actually going to put together a celebrity softball game going up against it at the old Shell parking lot in Broad Ripple. And I think we had a commitment from the Watson's girl was in. She was committed. I think he was reaching out to the people of Peter Francis Geraci. And I think Macho Mike might have been involved. We had a number of I believe he was calling it the D-list celebrity wiffle ball tournament. And then we got
D for Derek.
What's that?
D for Derek.
Correct. And well, yeah, because he's not even D-lister, right? But and then we got the call. No, we get to be in the Paul George one. And
I just thought, Jake, it was called the D-list because it was so short.
That is true. That is applicable, Eddie. Yes. Thank you. Eddie's very proud of himself.
I thought it was a good one.
And then so that was the tournament, though, or the celebrity softball game where I remember Kevin Pritchard being there. And it was that evening when Paul George let it be known that he was going to ask for a trade. And that ultimately would become the trade to Oklahoma City for Domas Sabonis and Victor Oladipo, which actually turned out to be a really good trade when you think about what they got in return, because we didn't really know what those players were. Have you ever seen the list?
Yeah, Tyrese Halliburton, Jake.
Totality? Yeah, because Sabonis, they turned into Tyrese, right?
Yeah. It's a full
list
circle
of players that Paul George has been traded for in his career is unbelievable.
Oh, goodness. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I know. Domantas Sabonis.
I mean, some of those were what players, picks and who they turned into, right?
Well, no, the Clippers gave up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for Paul George, and that was after Shai's rookie year. Huh?
Was it really?
Yeah, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was drafted by the Clippers, and when that whole thing was going on, Doc Rivers was like, hey, you can't trade this guy. This guy's a star. Like, he's going to be insanely good.
Okay.
And they didn't listen to him.
He was traded, Paul George, traded by the Pacers, of course, for Victor Oladipo and Domas Sabonis. Okay. Paul George then was traded by the Thunder along with Yannick Niederhauser to the Clippers for Danilo Gallinari. You are correct. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the first-round pick that became Trey Mann, a first-round pick that became Jalen Williams, a first-round pick that became Jaime Jaquez Jr., first-round pick that became Dylan Jones. What's that?
Jaime Jaquez?
Jaime Jaquez. Yeah, he was out of UCLA, right?
Correct.
Yeah. First-round pick of Nick Clifford, and a first-round pick that was Ade Mara?
Ade. Ade Mara. Ade Mara from Michigan.
Okay. I should have known that. Then looking at it here. Oh, wait a minute. My page went away. I mean, it's very lengthy, right? Okay. Then since then, now traded for Jaylen Brown.
Yep.
I mean, Brown, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, those alone, and then some of those other players. I mean, Mara, obviously, they could become very good players.
Sabonis.
Well, and then it parlays into when you talk about exactly that, who Sabonis became, and all of the trades that went into that.
Yeah.
But interesting stuff, no question about it.
Yeah, but in terms of people that we know that will be there in attendance, not sure who is participating in said softball game. Aaron Nesmith, Andrew Nimhard, TJ McConnell.
I mean, I would imagine the entire Pacer roster will be there, right?
I would assume that would be the case, Jake. Members of the Indiana Fever, which I need to look. I don't know if Caitlin Clark will be there or not, because that could be around the time of the FIBA World Cup break for the WNBA. So I don't know if Caitlin Clark would be there. That would be the same case for Aaliyah Boston as well, but I'll look into that here in a moment. Alec Pierce, Jonathan Taylor, Daniel Jones, Sauce Gardner, Cam Bynum, and Mo Alley-Cox on the Pacers or on the Colts front. And then there are additional participants that will be announced in the coming weeks.
Like I said earlier, though, Daniel Jones and Alec Pierce might be there. There's zero chance they're playing. Zero. Can you imagine if the Colts were like, you know what, they're not going to be playing in preseason games, but we're going to let them play in the celebrity softball game?
Yeah, so the Fever play in Chicago on August.
We're going to have our own Ray Fosse moment with our franchise quarterback.
The Fever play in Chicago on August the 23rd. The Celebrity All-Star or softball game is on Monday the 20th. Oh, hold on here. Okay, it'll be on Friday or on Monday, August the 24th. Yes.
Right.
I was reading the byline. It was a different date.
I just mentioned Ray Fosse, by the way. Do you know one of the weird sports tidbits that runs through my head?
No.
That is just makes sometimes I think to myself, and it's usually like at 3:48 in the morning, I'm staring at the ceiling, and then just some little thing runs through my head, and I go, oh, wow, that's amazing. Ray Fosse, for those that don't know, Ray Fosse was a catcher in the All-Star game. Pete Rose is playing in the All-Star game. Pete Rose knows no speed but to go all out, and that's why he is, one of the all-time greats in baseball, no question. But there's a play at the plate in the All-Star game, and Pete Rose absolutely barrels down Ray Fosse and knocks Ray Fosse, concusses him, I believe. But many would tell you that Ray Fosse's career was never again the same after playing catcher in the American League All-Star game or in the All-Star game for the American League. And Pete Rose barrels through him. And Ray Fosse, many will tell you, was never the same again. He never returned to that form. Ray Fosse is a native of Marion, Illinois. And the only reason I know he's a native of Marion, Illinois is because I was driving through Marion, Illinois one day, and I saw Ray Fosse Park, and then I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, Ray Fosse's from Marion, Illinois, the former All-Star catcher whose career was kind of, at the very least, sidetracked because of Pete Rose. Coincidentally enough, the only other thing that Marion, Illinois would be known for is a federal penitentiary that houses a lot of like a medium level or lower level penitentiary that houses a lot of white collar crime, including tax evasion. And one of its most famous inmates was Pete Rose. Always found that interesting. Eddie, we have tickets to give away for the Great Indiana State Fair. I look forward to the little sky ride. I love it. I do the lap. I love the State Fair. I love everything about it. August 7th, I'll be broadcasting live from the State Fair.
You're there twice,
at the
Jake.
Dairy Bar. That's correct. The 19th, is that the other date?
Yes. Yeah. The 7th, I think, is the grand opening.
Correct. And I'll be there at the Dairy Bar, right? Eating a grilled cheese.
Have you figured out when you are serving yet?
No. But that's also a fun event.
Also, do we know what the special flavor yet? I mean, these are questions we need answered.
It was blueberry a year ago, right?
I think so, yes.
I think I do have this. Hang on. This is the kind of these are the kind of answers that we get to on this program, right?
Yeah.
We find these things out. The chipmunk that runs my computer just stepped out for a quick smoke break. Let me call him back in, and we'll see if we can get this thing running to the point.
How do you call a chipmunk?
Like that?
Like a cat? Here, kitty, 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 kitty.
You tell them, actually, when you call a chipmunk, you simply tell them that you've got a hula hoop for them, and they love those. That's my understanding.
Oh, I thought these particular ones preferred the lung darts.
Well, that's what I mean. The chipmunk is out on a smoke break. I had it here. I had the information, but it's not loading before me. So try to figure it out. Indiana Standard Bread Association, you are correct. August 19th and the Dairy Bar on the 7th. I look forward to that. Also, Shuey's Appliance coming up this Friday on 96th Street. I'll be there from 4 until 6 giving away tickets to the Brickyard 400. But for now, we have tickets to give away for the Indiana State Fair. Eddie, in what fashion would you like to do so?
I said we go through the text line today.
Okay. And somebody asked me your rules on the text line.
Rules.
How do you determine on the text line the winners?
Well, typically it's either A, you, Jake, on the fly, come up with the trivia question, and they must answer correctly.
Okay.
And it's the first one who answers correctly. We've also done what your favorite underrated moment of the show is.
You know, here's the problem with doing trivia like that is everybody can just Google it, right?
Well, yeah, I know, but you can Google it. There's other people that may know it off the top of head and just be able to submit right away and be the first to correctly answer. And then the other one, of course, is always by number. You can tell me what number, and I go to that number. If you are, a corresponding texter, let's say 42, go to texter 42.
Eddie,
there we go.
Eddie. That's assuming there are 42 people listening.
Well,
that gets into dangerous
40
category.
female listeners, right?
Not all at one time.
Oh.
Right?
Oh.
We have 40 females who at some point were in their car long enough with somebody else listening. Would you like to do it in trivia form?
Sure, why not?
That's a challenge, though, right? How about this? We will let Eddie select. We've done this from time to time. Eddie will select it, the one that he finds to be the most creative and or to show the most esoteric nature. You simply reference something that tips the cap that you are a regular listener of this show. It could be something we've said. It could be something that made you laugh. It could be something in terms of a little factoid about either of the two of us. It could be some sort of a trivia question, but something that once you say it, a code word or phrase that once you say it, Eddie will know you are not an imposter who just happened to get in a rental car that happened to have 93.5 on it. You have history of listening to this show, and you're part of the company.
You cannot say QR either. That does not count.
Okay, QR does not count. It could be anything that, like somebody stopped me in Nashville and said, Shannon actually is real, isn't she? And I said, yes, because she was on the show last week. Eddie is already laughing about something.
Yeah, Alec texted and said Eddie's only friend's name is Alec.
Some sort of factoid about this program. We'll find out what John's got cooking, by the way, as part of the crossover brought to you by the good guys at Love Heating and Air. Love-HVAC.com is the website, 317-353-2141, an official Heil Heating and Cooling dealer. We will do it with John and JMV, find out what he's got warming up for 3 o'clock coming up in just a couple minutes. But again, 239-1070 is the number to text, and you just got to give a phrase, a comment, an observation that lets Eddie know that you've listened before today. We'll let you know the winner next.
Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Some pretty good entries here, Eddie. It is always funny to me, the stuff that people pick up on.
And they just remember, the random stuff with all the crap that we spew sometimes.
So which of these is your winner before we get to the crossover with J&V here?
Oh, man, I don't know. You can pick one, Jake, and I'll pick one.
Man, there are a lot of good ones here. A lot of good ones. I have to, by the way. Boy, the fact that somebody knows that Eastwood was the undefeated football champ is good. But I have to give it to the caller that not only texted in, but correctly spelled Huma Huma Nuka Nuka Wapa Waha.
Okay.
I mean, that is impressive. That is impressive. The state fish of Hawaii, Huma Huma Nuka Nuka Wapa Waha. So that's one of mine right there. Yours, Eddie?
I think I'm going to have to go with this one. I know it was recent, but it was something that was so small. Jake said Eddie looks like a fire hydrant.
He does. John would agree with that. J&B would agree with that.
You do, yeah. I said fire hydrant's better than Weeble.
That's right.
Right? You like that better than Weeble, Eddie?
I don't know what that means, so I don't
Weebles
know
wobble, but they
don't fall down.
Indeed. Weebles were fun toys back in the day, Eddie.
J&B has arrived. Find out what he has got warming up for the 3 o'clock program today.
I smell like Heather. Heather just cut my hair at Big League Barbers. They're having their grand opening coming up on Saturday, and I smell like Heather.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
I like
right?
smelling like Heather. Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
What is on the big show today?
Hey, by the way, Heather
good.
notoriously was a hot girl 80s and 90s name. Is that true?
Yes.
What are the hottest girl names of the past 3-4 decades? Ashley?
Brittany? I kid you not, Ashley was the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Ashley for sure.
Now,
and
where would you
bonus
slot
if it's Leigh?
Where would you slot Amber? Or Amber's working at the strip club?
What? Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Which is also cool.
Same with like Cinnamon.
Yeah, well, yeah. When your name's Cinnamon, that's where you're going right there.
That's right.
when Blake was little, he had an Xbox in his room, and he had to develop a name for his Xbox, and it just gave him one randomly. Cinnamon Duke.
Really?
Cinnamon Duke was his name.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
What is on the big show today? Did you see that Tyrese Halliburton's having an All-Star game? We're predicting you're playing in it.
Basketball?
Celebrity All-Star softball game.
Oh, softball?
Yeah.
They're going to do that again? So will we get to go down there and not talk to any of them? That'll be great.
and then find out which one has a trade demand afterwards, right?
I know.
We've been down that road before, right?
That was great. Did you ever play in one of those?
I played in the year the last
George?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I grounded out, I think, to T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah.
If I'm not
I think I played in one, I believe. I played in the one where I took Blake, and Andrew Luck actually was backing up first and saved an errant throw by somebody from hitting Blake.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a true story right there. And Blake was probably, I don't know, 6, 7, something like that, and saved him.
John's fabulous hair coming up at 3 o'clock.
Thank you, Heather. I smell like Heather. Dan Wetzel won't smell like Heather. He'll join us coming up in a 5 o'clock hour.
All right, J&B is going to be with you at 3 o'clock. We will be back with you at 10 a.m. tomorrow, and I thank you for listening to Query and Company.